Let me tell you something that we often forget, something that's so deceptively simple that most people don't realize. It's the very thing holding them back. Stop carrying yesterday's weight. Make room for tomorrow's wings. I know it sounds like a catchphrase, doesn't it? But listen carefully, because there's magic in this simplicity. Imagine that every day you're carrying a suitcase, and in it are all the things from yesterday, the day before, even years ago. All those moments that didn't turn out the way you wanted, all those criticisms, judgments, disappointments, and doubts. Every time someone doubted you, every time you doubted yourself, those things are packed tight in that bag. And now ask yourself, how far do you think you can go if you're dragging around all that weight? Every step forward is a struggle because you're still holding on to the baggage that no longer serves you. Feel that truth for a moment. Let it sit. It's impossible to move forward when you're pulling yesterday along with you. Think of it this way: if your hands are gripping a stone so tightly, trying to hold on to it, how will you ever have the freedom to reach for something new? Picture that. How will you ever grab hold of tomorrow if you're still holding yesterday in a vice grip? None. So I want you to try this. Set the bag down. Yes, right now, just put it down. Imagine it. Feel the weight leave your shoulders. This is about letting go in a way that's beyond the mind. Let go in the heart. Because carrying all of that weight isn't just tiring, it keeps you from flying. You know, we're so afraid to let go. We think that if we let go of that old self, that old story, we won't know who we are anymore. But here's the beauty of it: when you let go of the weight, you make room for the wing. When you release who you thought you had to be, you give yourself permission to grow into who you really are, to transform, to take that risk, to embrace change in a way that lifts you. And here's a secret that no one ever tells you: when you let go, you're not losing anything. You're actually gaining the whole world. You're stepping into a version of yourself that's unlimited. A version of yourself that's finally free to explore, to create, to live without those shackles of yesterday's judgments. Think about this: what would happen if you walked through life without any weight from the past? If every day you woke up with a clean slate, you'd be unstoppable. You'd be filled with energy, with a zest for living. You'd become someone who's guided by inspiration, not limited by old fears. And you know what? That person is already inside of you, waiting to be uncovered. So here's what I want you to realize: the only person holding on to that weight is you. And it's not your fault. We've all been conditioned to believe that who we were yesterday defines who we can be tomorrow. But I want you to recognize how liberating it is to know that you don't have to be bound by your past. The past is a teacher, but it's not a jailer. Let it teach you and then let it go. Let it serve as a stepping stone, not as a chain. Let's take a deeper think of yourself as a tree. When you hold on to old beliefs, judgments, and resentments, it's like holding dead branches on your tree. Those branches weigh you down. They keep the tree from growing tall and vibrant. Now imagine you prune those branches, you cut away the old to make way for new growth. That's what letting go really means. You're allowing yourself to grow upward, reaching toward the light, free from the burdens that have been stunting your growth. Ask yourself right now, what am I holding on to that's keeping me from being who I truly am? Maybe it's a relationship that no longer supports your growth. Maybe it's an old failure, a mistake you keep replaying. But realize this: every time you replay that story, every time you grip onto that memory, you're feeding energy into what doesn't serve you. And whatever you feed grows. The choice is yours. Do you want to nourish the things that empower you or the things that hold you back? Remember, we've all been given wings, but those wings can only take us so far if we're carrying unnecessary weight. Release what doesn't belong to you anymore. Give yourself the gift of freedom. Imagine who you could become if you released everything that held you back. Imagine the person who's been waiting to be born, the person within you that's waiting to soar. That person is already here, already alive within you. All you have to do is clear the path. Every single one of us has an opportunity in this very moment to let go, to breathe in new life, to become who we were meant to be without the baggage. And trust me, the freedom is unlike anything you've ever known. It's the freedom to explore, to experience, to create. It's the freedom to live in alignment with your deepest self. The wings are waiting. The only question left is, are you ready to fly? Now, here's something that so many people wrestle with. Sometimes for a lifetime, forgive, not to erase the past, but to free your future. You might have heard it before, forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. But let's take a moment to really feel this truth, to let it settle into our bones. Because what I'm talking about here isn't a simple act, a fleeting thought. It's a conscious decision to step out of the prison of resentment and step forward into the open air of your life. Forgiveness is a gift. And it's one of the greatest gifts you can ever give yourself. So many of us have this idea that forgiveness is about excusing or justifying what someone did to us, about saying it's okay, but real forgiveness doesn't mean that. Real forgiveness is a release, a letting go, a stepping out of the cage that the past has built around your heart. It's a way of freeing your future from the grip of what no longer serves you. Let's look at it this way. Imagine that your heart is a garden. Every grudge, every resentment, every hurtful memory is like a thorny weed tangled around your favorite flowers. Every time you relive the pain, every time you feed that anger or that hurt, those weeds grow a little taller, a little tougher, choking out the beauty and joy trying to grow there. And here's the thing, those weeds, they're not hurting anyone but you. The person who hurt you, they're not even in that garden, they're somewhere else entirely. But here you are, tending to their weeds every day, watering them with your thoughts, letting them drain the life out of your garden. So what do? We forgive, not to forget, not to erase, but to let our hearts breathe again. Forgiveness is a release. It's setting down the weight you've carried for so long. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why should I let go of that anger, that pain? They were wrong. I was hurt. It was unfair. And you're absolutely right. It was unfair. It wasn't right. But holding on to the pain of the past doesn't make it right. It only makes you suffer. Think about that. Imagine holding a hot coal in your hand, gripping it so tightly because you feel justified. You think they hurt me, so I'll hold on to this, but who's feeling the burn? Who's getting hurt? It's you. And until you let go, until you release that coal, you're the one who will keep getting burned. This isn't about forgetting. This isn't about pretending that the past never happened. It's about choosing your freedom over your pain. When you forgive, you're not saying, I approve, you're saying, I release. You're saying, I will not let this keep me captive any longer. Remember this, you deserve a future unburdened by the heaviness of yesterday. Think of it like this: every time you choose to forgive, you're lifting a weight off your spirit, giving your heart a chance to fly again. Because until you forgive, you're still bound to that moment, that person that hurt. And as long as you're bound, you can't move forward. You can't step fully into your future. That weight keeps you anchored in the past. Now imagine walking around with a heavy backpack full of stones, each one representing a different hurt, a different resentment, a different betrayal. It's exhausting, isn't it? Every step forward feels harder than the last because you're dragging that weight with you. But what if right now you chose to start removing those stones one by one? What if you decided to let go of each grudge, each memory that no longer serves you? How much lighter would you feel? How much more freely could you move through life? There's this common belief that forgiving someone means you're weak, that it's letting them off the hook, but I want you to reframe that right now. Forgiveness is strength. Forgiveness is the courage to say, I'm not going to let what you did keep hurting me. When you forgive, you're reclaiming your power, your peace, your life. I know it's not easy. Forgiving can feel like the hardest thing in the world, especially when the wounds are deep. But each time you make the decision to forgive, to release, to let go, you're honoring yourself. You're saying, I choose to heal, and in that choice lies true freedom. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it transforms the future. Here's something powerful. Try seeing forgiveness as a gift of love to yourself. Not for the other person. No, it's not about them. This is about you. This is about loving yourself enough to stop letting old wounds define who you are. When you forgive, you're saying, I'm worth more than my pain. I deserve joy. I deserve peace. You're creating space within yourself for all the beauty that's been waiting to flow in. Think of the most beautiful garden you can imagine. Sunlight streaming in, flowers blooming, vibrant colors everywhere. That's what your life could look like when you choose forgiveness. That's the garden of your heart, free of the weeds of resentment. And every act of forgiveness is like pulling one of those weeds, clearing space for new growth, for new dreams, for new possibilities. So I want you to take a moment right now and ask yourself, what's one resentment, one grudge, one hurt that you're ready to release? Feel the weight of it. Imagine what it would feel like to let it go, to no longer carry it in your heart. That freedom, that lightness that's waiting for you on the other side of forgiveness. There's a saying that goes, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and realize that the prisoner was you. Think about that. Forgiveness is a key that unlocks the chains you've placed on yourself. It's not about making things fair, it's about making peace. It's about choosing yourself, choosing your life over your pain. I know it's not a one-time thing. Some hurts are so deep they need forgiveness again and again. And that's okay. Each time you forgive, you're peeling away a layer, going deeper, freeing yourself a little more. Just keep choosing to let go, to release. Keep choosing your freedom, because every time you do, you're creating a future that's no longer shaped by the past. You're creating a future that's wide open, full of possibility, full of light. Forgiveness is an act of love. Love for yourself, love for your life. So ask yourself, what am I holding on to that's keeping me from stepping forward? And remember, the answer isn't to erase the past, it's to free your future. Forgive, not for them, but for you, for the incredible life that's waiting for you just on the other side of that release.
Letting go doesn't mean losing. Letting go means you're making space. You're clearing the path, preparing yourself, opening yourself to the next, most beautiful thing life has in store for you. Because the truth is, you can't embrace what's next if your hands are full of what was. Imagine you're standing there, clutching onto everything familiar, relationships that no longer serve you, jobs that drain you, beliefs that limit you, memories that keep you anchored to a version of yourself that's already outgrown. You're holding tight because you think letting go means losing. But really, what you're doing is holding back all the blessings, all the opportunities, all the love and light that are waiting to enter your life. This moment right now is an invitation. It's life's way of saying, are you ready to make room, because you can't pour fresh water into a cup that's already full? It's simple physics. You have to empty out what's stale to make room for what's fresh. And that's what we're talking about when we say letting go. You're not losing. You're clearing space. And here's something powerful to think about. What if, by holding on, you're actually holding yourself back from something extraordinary? Just pause and ask yourself that right now. What if, by gripping so tightly to what you think you need, you're missing out on what your soul is calling you to experience? What if that attachment, that familiar weight you're carrying, is really the thing keeping you from soaring? Let me paint a picture for you. Picture yourself in a room filled with boxes, all these dusty old boxes stacked high, blocking the light. Inside these boxes are your old memories, past hurts, grudges, outdated ideas about yourself. Now, look around this room. There's barely enough room to move, to stretch, to breathe. But here's the kicker: you're the one who placed those boxes there. And every day you wake up in that room, in that cramped space, thinking, this is just how it is. But it's not. You can start unpacking those boxes. You can release them, one by one, opening up space for what's next. And as you do that, you realize that letting go doesn't diminish you, it expands you. Every box you release makes room for something beautiful and new. Letting go is the ultimate act of faith. Faith in the unknown. Faith that by surrendering you're saying to life, I trust that something even better is coming, but that takes courage, doesn't it? Because letting go can feel like jumping without a net. It's stepping off a ledge, not knowing exactly what lies ahead, but trusting that there will be ground underfoot or wings to carry you. Let's make this personal. Think about one thing in your life that you've been holding on to. Maybe it's a job that gives you security but drains your spirit. Maybe it's a relationship that no longer fills you with joy. Maybe it's a story about yourself, one that says, I'm not smart enough, or I don't deserve success, or this is as good as it gets, whatever it is. I want you to feel how it weighs on you. Now ask yourself, what if I let it go? Don't rush past this question. Feel the relief that bubbles up when you even consider the possibility. Feel the lightness. Feel the space. That's your spirit reminding you of the freedom that's possible when you release what no longer serves you. Here's a secret I've learned over the years: when you let go, you make room for miracles. I know it sounds lofty, but think about it. Every single thing you've ever desired, love, success, inner peace, is just waiting for you to be ready, waiting for you to make space for it. But it can't find you if you're still clutching what you don't need, holding on to what you've outgrown. Think of your life like a garden. You can't plant new seeds in soil that's already filled with old roots. The weeds need to go, the soil needs to be tilled, space needs to be made. And once you do that, once you clear the space, the seeds of your deepest desires have a place to grow. So I want you to consider this idea, this simple but transformative idea. What you surrender today creates the room for blessings you haven't yet imagined. Because what's coming into your life, what life wants to offer you, is beyond anything your mind can predict. The possibilities are limitless, but they can't flow in if you're still grasping yesterday's baggage. And here's the paradox: often we hold on to things because we think they're keeping us safe. We cling to the familiar because in some way it's comforting. But here's what's wild: holding on actually keeps us from growing, from evolving, from experiencing the fullness of life. When you surrender, when you release, when you let go, that's when you open yourself to what's meant to find you. It reminds me of a story. Imagine a monkey reaching into a jar filled with peanuts. The monkey grasps a handful, but when it tries to pull its hand out, it realizes it's stuck. All the monkey has to do is let go, release the peanuts, and it would be free. But it clings to them, unwilling to let go, and so it remains trapped. Isn't that what we do with our attachments? We trap ourselves not because we have to, but because we refuse to release. Think about it. What are you gripping that you don't need to carry anymore? What peanuts are you clinging to that are keeping you from freedom? The truth is, you're not here to live a life that's cramped, a life that's confined to what you already know. You're here to grow, to expand, to experience the new. And when you let go, you step into the unknown, yes, but you also step into possibility. So, if there's something you've been struggling to release, if there's something in your life that no longer serves you, I invite you to take a leap of faith. Loosen your grip. Trust that whatever is meant to be will find you. When you let go, you're not losing, you're making space for something greater. Letting go is not a loss. It's an invitation to live more fully, to feel more deeply, to love more expansively. It's an act of courage and of trust. So ask yourself, are you willing to clear the space? Are you willing to let go of what's holding you back? so that life can surprise you with what's next. Because when you make that space, that's when miracles happen. That's when the blessings you haven't yet imagined begin to pour in, filling the void with light and love. And it's only then that you realize with absolute certainty that letting go isn't the end. It's the beginning. Imagine yourself standing in front of a vast blank canvas. It's empty, untouched. Now imagine that canvas represents your life. Each day, each moment, you have a brush in your hand and you have the freedom to choose what you'll paint on it. But too often, we don't see it that way, do we? We look at that canvas and we only see what's already been painted. We look back at the chapters that came before and we believe mistakenly that those chapters somehow dictate what comes next. But here's the thing, your story is in your hands. Stop letting past chapters write the ending. This is a radical shift, but I want you to really take it in. Just because the last chapter was written one way doesn't mean the next one has to follow. The moment you realize that you're free, every single moment is an opportunity to choose differently, to let go of old narratives, and to begin again. You're not obligated to keep writing the same story just because that's what you've known. Your story isn't set in stone, it's alive, it's evolving, and you're the one guiding it. Let's look at it like this. How many times have you caught yourself replaying scenes from the past? Scenes where things didn't go your way, scenes where you were hurt or let down, where someone told you, this is who you are, and that's all you'll ever be. And maybe, just maybe, you believed them. But I want you to recognize something right now. Those scenes are just snapshots in time. They're not your essence. They're not the sum total of who you are. They're simply past experiences that you have the choice to leave in the past. Now, here's a little secret. Most of us are the ones who keep dragging those old scenes back into the present. We're the ones replaying them in our minds, letting them cloud our vision, letting them influence how we see ourselves and what we believe is possible. But imagine what would happen if you put a stop to that. Imagine if, just for today, you said, I'm done letting the past dictate my future. Can you feel the power in that? Imagine your mind is a projector, playing the film of your life. Every time you allow an old belief to take center stage, you're projecting that past onto the present. But here's the beautiful thing, you are the director. You're not bound to keep replaying those old scenes. Right now, you have the choice to turn off that projector, to focus instead on what you're creating, not what's already been created. Let's try something. Close your eyes and picture yourself holding a book. This book is your life story. And as you look at it, you notice something powerful. There are blank pages ahead. Yes, the earlier chapters are written. They're full of memories, experiences, maybe even struggles that have shaped you. But those next pages, they're untouched. They're waiting for you to decide what to write. The only thing stopping you from turning that page is your belief that those past chapters are still in control. But they're not. The past is over, it's done. And with each new moment, you have a choice. You can keep rereading those old chapters, or you can start creating something entirely new. Let me tell you something, life is always inviting us to grow beyond the past. Every setback, every so-called mistake, every heartbreak is a lesson. But lessons are meant to be learned, not lived. Just because something was part of your story doesn't mean it has to be the story. You can learn from it, appreciate the wisdom it brought you, and then let it go. Imagine carrying a heavy bag full of every past hurt, every limitation you've ever been told, every criticism, every you're not good enough or you'll never make it now. Imagine dropping that bag. Right now, set it down. Because here's the truth, as long as you're holding on to that weight, there's no room to pick up anything new. As long as you're clinging to who you were, you'll never be free to step into who you could become. There's a quote I love that goes like this: "The only thing you have to remember is this: the past is a place of reference, not residence. Think about that. You're not meant to live in the past. You're meant to learn from it, to grow beyond it, to take those lessons and use them to become wiser, stronger, and more aligned with your true self. But you're not meant to stay there. The past chapters are simply that, chapters. And guess what? You're the author. You can close the book on any chapter, anytime you choose." Let's get real here. How many of us spend years, sometimes even lifetimes, waiting for someone to give us permission to let go of old stories? Waiting for some sign, some external validation that tells us, okay, now it's safe to move on. But let me tell you something powerful: no one else is coming to give you permission. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are the only one who has the authority to rewrite your story. I want you to do something. I want you to picture the most vibrant, empowered version of yourself. The version of you that is unburdened by doubts, insecurities, or past hurts. Imagine that person standing right in front of you. Feel that energy, that lightness, that joy. And now, I want you to ask yourself, what would this version of me let go of today? What story would they release? What belief would they choose to no longer carry? This is your story. You get to choose what stays and what goes. And in every moment, you are being given the gift of a fresh start. You're not locked into some predetermined fate, no matter what anyone has told you. Life is flowing, dynamic, always changing, and so are you. Every second, you're a new person with new cells, new thoughts, new possibilities. Why then would you hold yourself hostage to an old identity?
Here's a little practice for you each morning. Remind yourself that today is a blank page. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter if you stumbled, if you didn't live up to your own expectations. Today is new. You are new. And you have the power to choose what this day will hold, what story you'll write, and who you'll become in the process. Because in the end, it's not the chapters that have already been written that define us. It's the courage to keep writing, to keep growing, to keep evolving. You're here to create something extraordinary, and it doesn't matter where you've come from. What matters is that you recognize the power you hold, the pen that's in your hand. Let's talk about something most people find so hard to grasp, yet it's the very thing that will bring peace into your life, detached from outcomes. Now that might sound simple, but hear me out, because this is one of the most profound shifts you can make in your journey toward peace, toward freedom, and toward real fulfillment. Imagine this: you're holding a handful of sand. Picture it. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers, right? That's what it's like to cling to specific outcomes, when we obsess over how things must. Turn out, when we try to control every last detail, we lose what we're actually trying to hold on to: joy, connection, peace. Letting go of the need for things to go exactly as you envision, though, opens up a new world for you. It's like loosening that grip on the sand and watching it rest peacefully in your hand. And that's what detaching from outcomes is really about. It's about stepping into a space where you're open to receive rather than trying to force and control. Because believe me, the universe works in mysterious ways, and it often has plans that are far better, far richer than anything you or I could possibly imagine. Let go of the how. That's right. You don't need to know every single step or predict how it's all going to happen. Trust the process and trust that what's meant for you will find its way to you. Think about that. How much time do we spend stressing over the exact results, as if there's some universal scorecard tracking whether or not we're achieving precisely as we've planned? But here's the truth: life doesn't work on our timelines. Life has its own rhythm, its own intelligence, its own way of moving. And when we learn to tune into that flow, to dance with it rather than struggle against it, we experience an incredible freedom. Here's a hook for you. What if you were to release all the what ifs? What if you allowed yourself to approach each experience as an opportunity to grow, to learn, to explore, rather than needing it to look a certain way? Because that's what attachment to outcomes really is. It's our attempt to control life in order to avoid discomfort, to dodge fear. But in doing so, we build walls around our possibilities. Imagine yourself at the ocean. The waves are coming in, each one a moment, a new chance, a new experience. Now imagine standing in front of those waves with a rigid set of expectations. You're trying to control the waves, to stop them, to shape each one to your liking. It's impossible, isn't it? But that's what we do with our lives when we try to dictate every outcome, every twist and turn. We turn life into a struggle when in truth, life wants to flow, it wants to move with us and through us. Think about a time in your life when things didn't go as planned. Maybe it was a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, a dream that felt out of reach. Here's a simple truth: you are worthy of peace without prerequisites. Think about that. You don't need your life to look a certain way to feel peace, to feel whole. Peace isn't found at the end of a long list of accomplishments or when everything finally goes your way. Peace is found when you let go of needing it to go any specific way at all. This doesn't mean you stop having goals, dreams, or desires. It simply means that your happiness, your peace, your sense of worth isn't tied up in whether or not you achieve them in the exact way you imagined. Instead, you trust that the journey itself is the goal, that life is guiding you in ways that you may not fully understand but can absolutely trust. Here's a little exercise I want you to try. Think of a desire, a goal that's close to your heart. Hold it in your mind, feel it, see it. Now, instead of visualizing exactly how it must happen, I want you to feel what it would be like to have that desire fulfilled in some form without defining exactly what that form looks like. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the sense of fulfillment. Now, let go of the how you've planted the seed. You've set your intention. Trust that the right steps, the right people, the right opportunities will align for you in a way that serves your highest good. Life has a rhythm. It has a natural flow. And when you align yourself with that flow, everything changes. You'll find yourself moving through challenges with a newfound ease, experiencing synchronicities, and finding that things begin to fall into place in ways that are better than you could have orchestrated. Here's something to consider: if you can only feel satisfied when life looks exactly as you've planned, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Because life, my friend, is an ever-changing landscape. And when you detach from rigid expectations, when you embrace flexibility, that's when true peace emerges. Because you're no longer living at the mercy of external events. You're centered in your own being, no longer a slave to what happens out there. Now, that doesn't mean challenges disappear. It doesn't mean you'll always get what you want. But it means you'll have the resilience, the strength, and the wisdom to navigate whatever comes with grace. Because you're no longer clinging to the must-haves, you're no longer resisting the flow of life. So here's my challenge to you: practice loosening your grip. Whatever it is you're holding on to so tightly, allow yourself to open your hands, to open your heart, to let life surprise you. And in doing so, you'll find a kind of peace, a kind of strength that no outcome could ever give you. Let go and feel the incredible, unexpected peace that follows. Trust in the flow of life and trust that what is meant for you will come to you without the need for force or control. The sand, the waves, the seed, they all have their own natural course. So do you. Let life flow. Let's talk about this beautiful paradox that life invites us into when we finally let go. You know, when you let go, you don't lose anything, you actually gain. When you loosen your grip, you're not saying, I don't care about my dreams, or I don't want anything good to come. You're saying, I'm open, I'm ready for something bigger, something I may not even be able to imagine yet. You're saying, I trust that life might know something I don't. Think about it. How often are we caught in this endless cycle of trying to control everything, trying to force things to work out exactly the way we plan? But here's the truth that need to control is what creates the very limits we feel trapped by. You know, life isn't something that you can dictate with exact precision. Life is something you can dance with, something you can trust in. And when you let go, you invite life to surprise you. Let's get really honest here. I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you truly allowed yourself to be surprised? When was the last time you didn't try to plot out every detail, to calculate each step like you're solving some impossible puzzle? Sometimes in holding on so tight, you close off the very door that was waiting to open. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of a vast ocean. You're standing there, waves at your feet, and you're looking out to a horizon that just goes on forever. Now, imagine that this horizon represents all the possibilities that life could bring to you. Opportunities you've never even thought of, people you haven't met yet, experiences you couldn't dream up if you tried. The universe has a plan, but if your eyes are only focused on the ground, if you're too busy mapping out a small predetermined route, you might miss the magic unfolding right before you. See, when you let go, you're saying to life, all right, I'm ready for the journey. It's like being a sailor out in the open sea where you're not sure where the wind will take you, but you trust that wherever it takes you is where you're meant to be. The wind might take you to a place of challenge, to a place where you grow. It might take you to a new path, one you never thought you'd find. But when you're open, life can lead you to exactly what you need, even if it's not exactly what you wanted at the start. Here's a truth that can change everything for you. You don't have to know exactly where you're going to get somewhere wonderful. When you let go, you make room for life's surprises. And those surprises, they often turn out to be far better than anything you could have mapped out yourself. Now, I know this isn't easy. We're human, right? We crave certainty, we want guarantees, but here's the kicker: the only guarantee in life is change. The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know everything. So what happens when you stop demanding that life follow your blueprint and instead say, surprise me? When you let go of the need for control, you also let go of fear. You're no longer holding on to the idea that things have to be a certain way for you to be happy. Think of your mind like a garden. If you're constantly worried about every single weed, if you're checking and rechecking every leaf, you miss the beauty of the whole garden. Sometimes you just need to step back, let it grow on its own, and you'll see blossoms you never expected. Let's try something. Imagine a part of your life right now where you're holding on too tightly. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a job or a goal you've set for yourself. Maybe it's an idea of who you think you need to be. Whatever it is, I want you to take a deep breath and envision yourself loosening your grip just a little bit. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're making space for something even better. Think about a time when you experienced something truly wonderful that you never could have predicted. It could be meeting a new friend, landing an opportunity that seemed to come out of nowhere, discovering a passion you didn't know you had. Those moments came because you allowed them to. You weren't forcing the outcome, you were open to receiving it. What if the best things in life come when you stop trying to control everything? Letting go is like allowing the river of your life to flow naturally. It's not about sitting back and doing nothing, it's about flowing with life instead of trying to paddle upstream. When you let go, you release the belief that everything has to be a struggle, that everything has to go according to a rigid plan. And when you stop paddling so hard against the current, you'll often find yourself carried exactly where you need to be, faster than you could have imagined. Now, here's where it gets powerful. When you let go, you become a magnet for the things meant for you. When you're no longer bound by specific outcomes, life has the freedom to deliver you something even greater than you imagined. opportunities that align with who you truly are, not who you think you're supposed to be. People who enrich your life, experiences that bring you closer to your true self. In letting go, you're saying, I'm ready for what's real, for what's aligned, for what's meant for me. And the beauty of this mindset is that it attracts those very things into your life. Let me tell you a little story. I once spoke with a woman who was absolutely determined to land a particular job. She'd poured everything into it, visualizing, preparing, giving it her all. But here's the thing, she didn't get the job. And it crushed her because she believed it was the only path to success. Months went by and she felt lost. She didn't know what to do, so she did something she hadn't done before she let go. She stopped obsessing over how things had to go, and she opened herself up to possibility. And wouldn't you know it, not long after, she was introduced to someone in a completely different field, which led to a job she never even knew existed. It ended up being the perfect fit, something far more fulfilling than she had originally envisioned. So the message here is that sometimes what we think we want is only a stepping stone to something even greater. When you let go, you're saying, I trust life, and trust is a powerful thing. Trust invites miracles. Trust means that you're willing to receive what life has in store, even if it's different from what you planned. Trust means that you're open to the mystery. Every day, every moment, we have a choice. We can choose to grasp, to cling, to hold on tightly to the things we think we want. Or we can open our hands, release control, and say, I'm ready for whatever life has to offer me. This isn't about surrendering your dreams. It's about trusting that the universe knows your dreams even better than you do, and that when you let go, you allow those dreams to unfold in ways you couldn't have orchestrated. So the next time you're tempted to control every detail, to grip onto a specific outcome, I want you to remember this: life's surprises are often the greatest gifts. When you let go, you invite in the unexpected, the extraordinary, the miraculous. When you release control, you're not saying, I give up, you're saying, I give in to life's wisdom. I trust in life's flow, and the beautiful thing is, life responds to that trust. It responds by bringing you exactly what you need in the perfect time in ways you couldn't have even imagined. Now imagine that freedom. Imagine living a life where you're not constantly in a battle to make things go the way you want. Imagine a life where you're open, where you're free, where you're at peace, knowing that whatever comes, you're ready. That's the beauty of letting go. That's the magic that unfolds when you invite life to surprise you.